here I want to present the main uses of Neuro Linguistic Programming, because it's not a thing, it's just a body of ideas that you can choose to accept or reject. It's entirely up to you because it's your life. There is our present state, then there's our desired state. Life is all about moving forward, it's about making progress. Some people think that moving forward, making progress in life is about getting from one location to another. We think we're going to move forward into our future, which we may or may not have. We don't actually have a say whether we even wake up tomorrow morning or not. But what I want to propose is that making progress in life isn't so much about moving forward, it's actually more about growing up. It's more about us becoming elevated in our thinking. It's about us becoming more structured, more disciplined in our thinking, for the purposes of becoming more effective, more productive, more efficient, more consistent, more stable, more reliable through the eyes of other people. So essentially, we become the kind of people that others do not have a problem in trusting. So I want to share with you a basic model here that's going to help you to hopefully identify this. Where you're at the stage of your development and growth, you're either going to be committed to the process of trying to feel better, or you're going to be committed to the process of wanting to become better. And if we can define what becoming better looks like, this would involve us growing in maturity, responsibility, strength, consistency, decisiveness, honesty, authenticity, realness, where we're no longer just reacting to life, but we are responding to it consciously. Right? We are no longer being impacted, being blown around like a leaf in the wind. We are instead standing strong on a robust set of life foundations, and it would take a hell of a lot to move us because we've become grounded in who we are. This happens, if you want this to become a desired state, fantastic, take it, all right? I'm still working towards growing in these areas. But all growth comes through awareness. Personal awareness precedes all personal growth. So I want to share with you what it is that progress looks like from my perspective. All right. Then Richard Bandler had a few things to say about this, one of the co-creators of NLP going back 40 or 50 years ago now. So self-awareness. Self-awareness is our starting point. Self-awareness is about us growing in conscious holistic knowledge of our own character, of our habits, how it is that our habits have come into existence, where they started from, because if we're aware of where our habits started from, we can evaluate them objectively and decide whether we want to keep them in our life or whether we want to replace them with more effective, more efficient, more productive habits. Make sense? Essentially, if you think that anything to do with progress, making progress in life, is really anything to do with anything other than replacing old ineffective habits with new, more effective habits, it's not. That's it. Us becoming more grounded in life is about us simply replacing those habits that aren't working for us with new ones that are going to allow us to operate and function more efficiently. If it sounds simple, it's because it is simple. Outworking it's not, but the idea within itself is simple. Many people do not understand themselves emotionally or rationally or volitionally. Volitionally is a term I've used once or twice now. I just want to unpack this so you understand what it means. Volition is just simply another term for choice. We experience life on 5 different levels. And this is important if we want to understand ourselves. We experience life physically, so you have a physical body. Now, have you ever known anyone who would define themselves as being a spiritual person or a spiritualist? Or you have some people that go on spiritual pilgrimages. So this is people taking practical steps or physical steps to have some form of spiritual experience. All right, now I'm not going all spiritual on you here, just in case you're completely opposed to this. If you are, fantastic, you might even come to appreciate what I'm talking about. So some people go through life looking to have this spiritual experience, to say things like, who am I? Am I at one with the universe? How can I make peace with myself? And all this kind of thing. And we cannot make peace with our physical body because our physical body is dying, it's getting older, it's decaying, it's rotting, it's going south day by day. So our physical bodies are already failing us. There is no life to be found in our physical bodies. Now, why I say this is because I've coached and I've worked with many men, a few ladies over the years, who've spent decades of their life pumping up the physical bodies. There's nothing wrong with this. Maintaining physical health is critical. It's really important. I acknowledge this. But when that becomes our primary source of growth, then we become limited, extremely limited, because personal growth is not just physical. It must be something else. I'm promoting here that all growth is spiritual. Now, this is an abstract notion, and before you agree or disagree, let me explain to you what I mean. Think about the farmer. So the farmer walks into his field one day and he scatters some seed on the ground. So the farmer is responsible for scattering seed. The farmer then, over the weeks and the months that follow, he goes around, he waters the seed, he puts meshing over the seed so that the crows and the birds don't come down and peck the seed up, giving the seed an opportunity to incubate and germinate and grow into something else. If the farmer cultivates the seed that he's sown for long enough, then at some point in the future, something might grow. But it's important that as human beings, we understand this principle of growth. That we can sow seeds, we can water seeds, we can do our best to cultivate seeds, but growth is not determined by us. Growth is determined by other factors. And this is true for physical growth, it's true for spiritual growth, it's true for intellectual growth. It's not that we can make ourselves understand something. All right? There's different ways through which we communicate with each other. There's different ways through which we communicate with ourselves. And all of this is important to note, because we can invest as much time and effort and energy into trying to develop and grow ourselves and improve ourselves. But all we can do is our very best. We cannot determine the fruits that we go on to produce through our own efforts, and we also can't determine how far or how much we essentially go on to grow. All right? So growth, the way I like to see this, is not our responsibility. It's our responsibility to feed ourselves and water ourselves. It's our responsibility to exercise, but it's only going to be if you really look to see what I'm saying that you're going to come to understand. And it's only when you come to understand what I'm saying, or what other teachers are saying, that you then start to grow. What are you growing in? You grow in awareness. We only grow in awareness. We grow to become more aware of that which we previously were not aware of. It's only when we're aware of opportunity that we have to grow and improve that we can start to grow and improve. We can start to build new habits into our lives. Make sense? For some, this is going to be like a radical idea. For others, they're going to be saying, yeah, okay, and get onto the meat and bones. So let us continue on. So all growth starts with self-awareness. Self-management precedes self-awareness. We can only manage and regulate ourselves in an area that we've identified we actually have a choice. All right, think about the kind of, or the level of communication that some people have. Think about a young boy or a young girl, or a young boy and a young girl squabbling or arguing in the schoolyard. Okay, so you've got little Patsy and you've got little Jimmy. And little Jimmy has just pulled Patsy's hair or something like this because he's a bully. And Patsy starts crying. And it wasn't that she was hurt by this. She wasn't. All right, but she's crying and now she wants to get little Jimmy into trouble from the teacher. And she says, he's really hurt my feelings, really hurt my feelings. Now, this is the way that most people go through life. Little Jimmy and Patsy then grow up to, sort out the differences, then they get married. So now they're in their mid-30s and they've got 2 young children, they've got children of their own. And they end up coming home from work one day and Jimmy says something. Patsy interprets what Jimmy just said, however she does, and then starts crying. And she says, Jimmy, you've really hurt my feelings. And what Patsy's demonstrating here, that she is not aware that she actually gets to choose whether she takes offence or whether she doesn't. Because if she's not aware, then she's never going to be able to self-manage. So what would it look like to self-manage in this instance? Well, Patsy has just been on the receiving end of something thoughtless that Jimmy just said, and if I was in Patsy's shoes right now, which might be a set of high heels or something, I would say, "Excuse me, Jimmy, you've just said something. I feel that was a little bit thoughtless. Could you just let me know what you meant by that, please?" I could take that quite offensively, but I don't want to. I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, because I'm sure that you meant no offence. Right? Not a particularly great example, but can you see that we actually have more options available to us than what many people realise? So it's only when we start regulating ourselves more effectively in response to the knowledge that we have of ourselves that we can then become more socially aware. And I'm hoping I might just have demonstrated that through that really poor demonstration as well. Because we can automatically assume that other people's intentions are bad, but if we're going to be so proud to say, well, our intentions are never bad, because it's always everyone else's intentions that are bad, it's never ours, right? Then why don't we just extend the same degree of benefit of the doubt to other people that we want them to extend to us? Because when we start thinking along these lines, we start becoming socially aware. Now, hang about, maybe other people are actually just not aware of the extent of the options that they have. Maybe they're just not self-aware. Maybe this person has just communicated in this certain way because he hasn't given any consideration to how his or her communication might be received by me. So maybe this wasn't an action fueled by malintent. Perhaps it was just thoughtless because of his or her lack of self-awareness. So when we start becoming aware of this, we start asking questions when people say and do things to us that we might otherwise take offence to. We become more socially aware. And as we become more socially aware, we have the ability to see reasons for people's behaviour, reasons for people's emotional attitude dysfunctions. And when we start to see these reasons, we can just start operating from a greater place of compassion. And it's only when we're responding to other people through compassion, assuming the best of people rather than the worst, that we can start influencing. Now, if you're watching this right now, you're thinking, but I don't want to be an influencer, I don't want to be a leader or anything like that. Well, it doesn't really matter. Do you want to have relationships between now and the rest of your life? Would you like to have healthy relationships? Well, I guarantee you that unless you grow in self-awareness and learn how to manage and regulate yourself and in turn become socially aware of other people, then you're not going to be able to influence yourself, never mind anyone else. And think about it, it might be the case that you become an expert grounded self-regulator. You become an absolute master of managing and regulating yourself. If you enter into a relationship, fall in love with someone who hasn't quite got there yet, then you're going to have to use this understanding that you've developed and communicate it through your use of language to influence them to become more aware, thus more grounded and regulated within themselves, which will enable you to have better and healthier and more robust and more vibrant relationships. The quality of our life is determined by the calibre and the depth of the relationships that we have. Right? I guarantee if you've ever found yourself in a place of emotional dismay, look to identify the relational component of this dismay. Dismay, which might mean sorrow, despair, angst. All right, I guarantee every single problem that you have in life will have a relational component attached to it. So when we become more influential, we can start to really win friends and strengthen our relationships through the process, which just further enhances our mental health and emotional well-being.